Larry, great to be on with you again. We got a lot happening, don't we?
What kind of doctor are you?
I'm an obstetrician gynecologist.
Oh, how wonderful. How wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew that.
For 25 years of my life, I delivered a baby most every day. The greatest honor of my entire life was that magic moment of giving a crying baby to a new mom and dad. Just an incredible life I've been blessed to live.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. God bless. Terrific stuff. So, Senator Marshall, I've been talking about John Durham's report, Donald Trump's exoneration, but most of all is the corruption inherent in the FBI. I would include the CIA, but I'm kind of more focused on the FBI right now with respect to the Russian hoax. There was no evidence of anything done. And I want to get your thought on that, and then I want to move on to the issue of how we can clean up the FBI, because this is really important. I'm very concerned that the FBI, which has interfered in the 2016 election, interfered in the 2020 election along with the CIA, may have thrown the 2020 election against Trump and toward Biden, that they may do the whole thing again. But first, Senator, what's your thoughts on the Durham report?
Well, Larry, I think your op-ed nailed it. Let's make the FBI great again. One of my senior physicians once told me early in my practice, if a physician loses their reputation, you never get it back. The FBI has lost their reputation. My dad was a police officer, chief of police for 25 years. We had the most reverence for the FBI. They were the gold standard for law enforcement agencies across not just the country, but across the world. We've lost that reputation. There's absolutely corruption at the highest levels in the FBI. And they're the ones that are colluding. They were colluding with the Justice Department. They were colluding with the Obama-Biden White House as well. But the mainstream media just says, oh, this was a nothing burger. There was nothing in the Durham report. That's what maybe disturbs me as much as anything.
You know, one of the things, there are many things, but one of the things that just burned me up was the information that this was a plot hatched by the Clinton presidential campaign, the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign, and that the White House, the Obama White House, including Biden, including Attorney General Loretta Lynch, they were all briefed on it. They knew about it. And then, of course, the FBI helped enforce it from one to another. But it's remarkable to me, and they all kept silent. I don't know, to this day, I don't think Obama's ever said anything about it. But this was at the very highest levels of our government. And I just find that to be quite remarkable. And the other thing, Roger Marshall, that I want to mention is the idea that there was never any evidence whatsoever of collusion. It was all a political dirty trick. And when you think about what we had to go through with Trump and the attacks during the campaign and then during his administration and ultimately his impeachment, that's how far this dirty trick went. I just find that utterly incredible.
Right, Larry, and why hasn't the national media asked former President Obama about this? Why haven't they asked Vice President then Biden about this? We've not talked about the FISA court application either.
Yes.
And I think that's people are missing a point here. FISA application allows them to spy on people to higher levels. And when you start abusing that and the Justice Department colluding with the FBI, basically they used a newspaper report that the FBI created, and then they circle back and say, based upon this newspaper report that we planted, we want to be able to spy on the Trump folks as well. And then later they use that trick in the COVID cover-up as well, and that's a story for a different day. But this is a theme, to your point. This is a theme. This is the tip of the iceberg. We need to clean out the FBI.
So one of the things that occurs to me watching all this and reporting on all this, you've got the Jim Jordan hearings this week. What were they, Wednesday or Thursday? Interviewing some of these FBI whistleblowers, right. Some retired, some still around, and how they attempted to call attention to irregularities or law breaking or other problems, other process problems, and they were smashed. I mean, basically conservative whistleblowers, but in some cases not just politically conservative, just people that saw law breaking, and how the top brass in the FBI treated them so badly. And so I'm looking at this, Senator Marshall, as a leading indicator of God knows what in the 2024 election. What will the FBI do next if they're not cleaned out?
Yeah, that's a great question, Larry. But again, to your point, this is the swamp. The Obama administration did an incredible job of placing folks into the FBI, the Department of Agriculture, the FDA, all those places. Those folks have risen to the top levels now, and then they're pushing out folks maybe with a more conservative approach. And I hate to use the word conservative. I think it's a traditional American patriotic approach are being pushed out. So all we can do is keep shining a light on them. I'm not sure on the House side what they can do to work with the budget issues. As we are confirming people for some of these higher spots in the Senate side, we can keep putting pressure as well. But I don't underestimate exactly what you're talking about.
Well, my thought is that I don't look, when I served in the Trump administration, one of my jobs, I sat on National Security Council. I dealt with the FBI and the CIA for that matter, but I'm concerned that it's going to take the only way out of this. I don't want to destroy the FBI. I don't want to defund the FBI. I want the FBI to be very strong. As I said in the article, I want it to be great again. But I don't think there's any way out of this, Senator Marshall, unless we have a very strong Republican president. If Biden's reelected, there's no hope of cleaning out the FBI or the CIA. We're going to need a change in administrations. We're going to need a strong president to clean house on the so-called seventh floor of the FBI, right? It's not the rank-and-file agents that are doing this stuff. It's the people at the top who have a very liberal Democratic bias. You're going to need a strong president, it seems to me.
Larry, leadership is so important, and it's in such short supply. We'll need, at every level, we'll need strong leaders to be able to deal with these people and start investigating them and run them out. That's what we have to do. You and I have seen it in other agencies where we've got to just run out the bad people. And to your point, though, the FBI agents out in the field that I've met with have been nothing but incredible human beings. We've been working with them hand in glove on the fentanyl issues in Kansas. They are great men and women. This seems to be at the highest levels, and particularly in that field office in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I think that's the tricky part. What, if anything, is going on in the Senate to follow up on the Durham report and to look at whistleblowers and to look at the FBI? Is there anything going on?
Larry, you got me there. I think that we are just living from crisis to crisis, and I don't know whether this is on purpose or this is just the way this administration manages. But when we have a southern border, the most immediate national security threat to our country going on the one hand, then we have our national debt crisis and our debt ceiling crisis, the bigger long-term threat to this country going on. There's really not much room for much in between, it feels like.
Yeah, so nobody wants to hold hearings on this in the